Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and Champions, issue number 26. All right, well, let's try and get a less of a glare on that one. Beautiful cover, as usual, man. Like, Champions have just got consistently some of the most beautiful covers ever. I can literally remember one cover that I didn't like the way that Brute, now at the time, Amadeus Cho, totally awesome Hulk, there we go. I didn't like his face. It just looks so weird. But aside from that, literally, even the rest of the cover was great. Find me a cover that's just not fantastic on the Champions, man. They've got some of the best cover artists ever. So we'll get to who made this cover in a moment as we get to everybody. Warriors of the Weird, Part 2. So second part of a new story arc. Jim Zub is the writer. Max Dunbar is the artist. Nolan Woodard is the color artist. VC's Clayton Cowles does the letter and productions for this. Cover art, here we go. Sean Isaacs and Marcio Menez. So, variant cover by Rob Liefeld and Romulo Fajardo. Interesting. Okay, cool. So, man, these guys. So they're basically going back into a Dungeons & Dragons-esque sort of world. Basically weird world, but more Dungeons & Dragons-esque. Like, I'm expecting the Dungeon Master to show up at any moment and be like, your quest, should you choose to accept it, is. Because that's freaking great. The Master of the World shows up again. Probably the ultimate villain for Alpha Flight shows up. And what? Jim Zub, Canadian, having more Alpha Flight references in his comic books? No, that doesn't make sense. Makes perfect sense. Master of the World deserves a lot more love. He shows up and he goes straight beast mode, man. He gets into it with this huge red dragon, and he just, 10 minutes later, this thing is just exposed ribs, meat disappeared, like he tore out the entrails. Like, yo. Something that looks like it's gonna come up a little bit more is these crystals. These crystals seem pretty important to the book. A couple of Swamp Things showing up. Yes, I said a couple of Swamp Things showing up and carrying these crystals. What do you call it? Master of the World had to grab this one crystal, this power source, from this red dragon. I don't know if you guys are that damn familiar with red dragons, but like, red dragons are one of the ultimate beasts to fight. I would rather face a lich in Dungeons & Dragons than a red dragon sometimes, because like a lich, they've got a secret. You can just find out where the phylactery is and psh, done, handled. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to swing a sword once. But red dragons, man, it's just like you have to fight. You have to make a whole lot of rolls and saves and all that stuff, though. So that's pretty cool, man. Within 10 minutes, he just solo tanked a freaking dragon. That's badass. I love the love that he's getting. Nadia in this, being turned to this evil pixie. She's like a portion of a tiefling / devil. And tieflings actually are technically devil spawn, but wicked, man. Let's say a pixie tiefling. I'm liking it. The best design, though, I don't know if I should give it to Miles Morales or Riri Williams on this. Either way, all these characters, they're just written so well, drawn so well, but specifically Riri Williams in this, man. I'm telling you, people who are not a fan of Riri Williams for all the reasons that they gave, I'm not a huge fan of the reasons that were given, because there are a lot of characters who've been written like that, and it's more about, to me, it wasn't the greatest rating in the world, but it was far, far from the worst. I mean, this wasn't like NFL Fighter, whatever that guy was. Remember that NFL, whatever, that comic book that was out? That knucklehead. It was like, this is written so much better than that. No disrespect. No, this is not casting shade. Just a comparison. I love the way that Riri Williams has always been written consistently by Bendis. Yes, loved it. In this, though, like I said, Zub is just, he's giving you a reason to be like, dude, if you didn't like her for this reason before, I'm taking away your excuse. Now, this is the comparison I'm going to make with that. Anybody who's still got a problem with Riri Williams at this point, hey man, if you got a problem, cool, air it, and let's talk about it intelligently. But if not, if there's still this just blanket hate, I gotta kind of look at this as Superior Spider-Man talking to, what's his name, the Vulture, back in the day, when he's like, "Hey man, look, I know that you've always, Vulture, Adrian Toombs, you've always had this problem with, if you just had this big score, you just make a whole lot of money, then you'd give up being a villain. Well, look, I've got you a whole lot of money. There you go, man. You can do all the things you ever wanted, and you can quit doing crime. See, I'm a good guy." And he's like, "Yeah, that was always just a front. I just want to be a bad guy." And he attacks him right away. It's like, are you kidding me right now? Are you kidding me? So just like that was always a front for Adrian Toombs doing the evil deeds that he wanted to do, here's a question, man. The way that Riri was being written in here, with these occasional flashbacks that she's getting, this is PTSD. I want you to understand that. This is actually a really, it's kind of like PTSD light, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Again, I know plenty of people with PTSD, and this is very light compared to, what some people have experienced. But it's still there. It's still prevalent. So seeing us being reminded that this is in her head pretty much all the time, shaking her confidence, man, you want to talk about character progression? Bang, baby. This is how you do it. Aside from that, this is really just Jim Zub crying out to the world that he really, really, really wants to play Dungeons & Dragons in the worst way. This is almost like Jim Zub saying, "Listen, man, I like being a DM, but I need to be a player one of these days. Hey, dude, you want to swing by Gotham Central? I'll run a game." I'll run a game, dude. But this is so good. This is so good. The memory loss thing has been done a lot in the comic books as of late. Like specifically right now, across DC and Marvel, there's a whole lot of this Jason Bourne-esque, I don't have my memories, but I'm still uber powerful kind of thing going on. I'm okay with it. I personally am okay with it, because one of the things I've noticed is that, if you just look at it from a general outlook of, oh, everybody's lost their memory. Look at the way these guys have lost their memory. It's very different to the way that Nightwing has lost his memory, which is also very different to the way that some of the other characters right now who've lost their memory have lost their memory. You know what I'm saying? Like what's happening in the Marvel Knights. That's a very different way to go about things. So I'm perfectly okay with it. I'm simply addressing it because I'm starting to see rumblings, and then I see, I'm looking at this also, I'm reminded of those rumblings. It's different to me. I'm noticing the difference in it. It's not just the overarching, there's no memory here. No, there's more behind it. And I like the way that it's all being handled. Anyway, guys, Champions, just consistently one of the best books on the market right now. And I'm kind of glad that Marvel's not giving it too much attention, but all of a sudden it's like Marvel turned its giant Cthulhu-like head and looked and said, "Ooh, Champions is doing well. Let's give it a renumbering." Marvel. Come on, Marvel. So there's no call. There's no call for that. But Jim Zub is going to be writing it. And Zub is usually pretty good at making things count. He's usually pretty good at making things count. If he's going to be doing something different, if he's asked to or told to do something and he chooses to stay on to a project, he usually does a good job of making it count. Case in point, he didn't have to write the Infinity War tie-in, the Road to Infinity War tie-in for the Champions, those two issues, but he chose to, and he saw that as an opportunity to progress Riri's character more than anything else, and to cause a huge problem for Sam Alexander, all at the same time. So, wow. You know what I'm saying? So, if he's forced to go and renumber to issue number 1, I'm positive that he's going to do something to actually make it count. And I'm looking forward to reading it. All right, guys. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.